Here is something nobody in personal finance likes to admit. Most people do not feel financially behind because their income is too low. They feel financially behind because of 7 small, almost invisible habits they repeat every single day without ever questioning them. I know this because I lived it. A finance degree, years inside investment banking, numbers everywhere, all the time, and I still walked around with that low-level sensation that something was not quite right with money, that I was always one step behind. Today, I am going to walk you through the 7 habits that changed that for me, and exactly what to replace each one with. None of this requires you to earn more. None of it requires you to cut back dramatically. All of it requires you to pay closer attention to things you are already doing. Let us get into it. Habit number 1. Your environment is telling your brain a story. And right now, if your desk is covered in papers you have not looked at in weeks, if there are cables you never untangle, mugs from 2 days ago, notes from projects you have already finished, then that story your environment is telling is this: you are behind, you are overwhelmed, and you are not in control. There is solid research showing that physical clutter raises cortisol levels, which is your primary stress hormone. But honestly, you do not need a peer-reviewed study to feel that. Walk into a clean room and then walk into a cluttered one. Your nervous system already knows the difference. The habit here is embarrassingly simple. Before you close your laptop at the end of the day, take 2 minutes, not 20, just 2, and reset your physical space. Put things back where they belong. Clear the surface. Close the tabs, both the literal ones and the mental ones. What you are really doing is training your brain to associate your workspace with intention instead of chaos. And over time, that association compounds. You start feeling like someone who has things in order, even on days when everything else feels uncertain. Start tonight. 1 surface, 2 minutes. That is all. Habit number 2. There is a consistent pattern among people who feel genuinely comfortable with money, and it is not that they spend more. It is that they actually experience what they are already spending. Most of us move through our days on autopilot. We eat lunch while answering emails. We drink our morning coffee while scrolling through notifications. We cook dinner while half watching something on a screen across the room. We pay for all of these moments and then we completely miss them. A study tracking over 2,000 adults found that people who were fully present during everyday experiences reported significantly higher life satisfaction than those who focused on acquiring more things. And the cost of the experience was almost irrelevant. The habit is this: upgrade one moment in your day, not by spending more, but by actually being there for it. Put your phone across the room during your morning coffee. Light a candle while you work. Take your lunch outside, even for 15 minutes. Cook dinner with music you actually like playing. These are not luxuries. They are attention. And attention is completely free. I made a list of all the things I do on autopilot every week, and then deliberately designed a way to make each one feel worth savoring. It changed how I experience an ordinary Tuesday more than any purchase ever has. Habit number 3. How you spend the first 15 minutes of your morning determines the emotional tone of your entire day. This is not philosophy. This is neuroscience. When you pick up your phone within the first 5 minutes of waking, before your brain has had any time to orient itself, you immediately hand your attention over to other people's urgency. Someone else's news, someone else's opinion, someone else's problem. Research shows that this triggers a cortisol spike that can last for hours. So you start every single day already playing defense. I did this for years. I would open my emails before my feet hit the floor, and then I would carry that buzzing, anxious energy through my entire morning, into my work, into my conversations, into my decisions. The habit is simple, but requires real commitment. Do not check your phone for the first 15 minutes after you wake up. That is it. 15 minutes that belong entirely to you before the world gets its turn. Sit with your thoughts. Look out a window. Drink something warm without a screen in your hand. The difference is not just in those 15 minutes. The difference is that you start your day as someone who is leading it, not reacting to it. And that feeling, that quiet sense of being in control of your own morning, it is one of the most underrated forms of wealth there is. Habit number 4. You could have a healthy bank account and still feel completely broke if you have no time. And I mean that literally. Time poverty is real, and it is running through almost every working person's week right now. Every evening is accounted for. Every weekend is recovery from the previous 5 days. Every hour off carries a background anxiety that you should be doing something productive with it. And here is the strange part. We will research for 3 hours to save $40 on a flight, but we will let our only free Sunday afternoon get swallowed by someone else's request without a second thought. The habit I am suggesting here is blocking 1 hour per week, just one to start, where no productivity is allowed. Not exercise with a fitness goal attached. Not errands. Not catching up on anything. Genuine, guilt-free, purposeless time. A walk with no destination. A book you are reading purely because you want to. Sitting in a coffee shop doing nothing important. I put this block in my calendar the same way I put in a meeting. If it is not scheduled, it disappears. Because here is the truth. If your life feels like a constant sprint with no finish line, no amount of money will make you feel rich. You will just feel like you are surviving at a slightly higher price point. Habit number 5. Somewhere right now, there is probably something sitting in an open browser tab or a shopping cart that you have convinced yourself you need. Let me tell you what is actually happening in that moment. Research shows that roughly 64% of impulse purchases lead to regret. And more than half of those buyers say those unplanned purchases directly delayed a goal that actually mattered to them. The habit that fixes this is almost offensively simple. Wait 24 hours before buying anything non-essential. Not groceries, not a bill, not a genuine emergency. Everything else waits 1 day. What happens in those 24 hours is revealing. Sometimes you forget about the thing entirely, which tells you everything you needed to know about how much you actually wanted it. Sometimes you come back the next day and still want it, in which case, buy it, zero guilt. But most of the time, that electric urgency fades. Because what felt like a need was really just a feeling passing through. I have used this rule for years, and the savings are not just financial, they are mental. You stop accumulating things that were never going to make you happy in the first place. Habit number 6. Here is one of the quietest psychological shifts I have ever made around money. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you paid for that you actually used or genuinely enjoyed. Not a big annual purchase, not a one-time event. The everyday ordinary things. If you went to the gym this morning, write it down. If you used your music subscription on the commute, write it down. If you cooked with groceries you actually bought and the meal was good, write it down. Here is why this works. Most people only think about money when it leaves. A bill arrives, a balance drops, a payment processes, and money becomes associated entirely with loss. But when you start tracking what your money is actually returning to you, even the small daily things, that association flips. You stop feeling like someone who is constantly losing money, and you start feeling like someone whose spending is quietly building a better life day by day. You are not broke. You are invested in a life you are actually living. That reframe alone is worth more than any budgeting spreadsheet. Habit number 7. Most people feel behind not because they are not making progress, but because they are not keeping any record of the progress they are making. I do this constantly. I hit a goal and immediately move the target. I finish something I worked hard on, and within hours I am already focused on what I have not done yet. The brain is genuinely wired this way. It is designed to scan for threats and gaps, not to celebrate what is already working, which means unless you actively create evidence of your own progress, that evidence disappears. The habit is keeping what I call a wins list. Anytime something goes right, you write it down. Got through a difficult conversation you had been avoiding? Write it down. Made a financial decision you are proud of? Write it down. Showed up for something when you did not feel like it? Write it down. These are not vanity entries. They are evidence. And on the days when you feel like you are not getting anywhere, when everyone around you seems to be moving faster, when the gap between where you are and where you want to be feels enormous, you pull up that list. And every single time, you will find more there than you remembered. Progress you stopped noticing. Wins you completely forgot. The feeling of wealth is not just about what is in your account. It is about knowing, with real evidence, that you are someone who is moving forward. So there they are. 7 tiny habits, none of which cost anything, none of which require a raise or a windfall or a perfect financial situation. All of them simply ask you to pay closer attention to a life you are already living. Because here is the truth that took me a long time to really believe. Wealth is not a number you hit. It is a way of experiencing what you already have. If this video gave you one idea worth keeping, drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you are not subscribed yet, hit that button right now, because every week I put out videos like this one designed to help you think about money differently. And while you are down there, leave a like. It takes 1 second, and it genuinely helps this channel grow. See you in the next one.